because I hope that this will be useful not just for them, but for you guys too. So that's great. That looks like it's recording. Hi, Pauline. You're in school. No video or mic here. That's okay. I'm sure you're maybe in quite a busy room as well, so don't worry. No problem at all. So we've got quite a small group today, and so I guess I'll mention that as just because if you've got anything that you want to ask as we go along, then please do stick it in the chat, and I will come to all of your points or questions. It's going to be a bit more of a chat today because we've got a small group, and my colleague Sam is not well today, so you're going to have to deal with me today, I'm afraid. So we've got three teachers in here. Who is a member school? If you could put yes in the chat, if you're a member school, or no if you're not, and it's okay either way. It's not. It's just good to understand where we're at. Okay, Pauline, that's great. Thanks for letting me know. I will just, while we just wait for. Oh, can you keep your mic on mute if that's okay? So that's okay. No, you're not a member school either, Rosie. That's absolutely fine. Welcome. So nobody's a member school. Great. Okay. So that's helpful. That helps me to keep this simple for everyone. So I guess, yeah, what we're going to do, I'm going to stick to time on this. It's going to be about half an hour long. I don't like things that run over, so I do my best to keep to time. Thank you very much for joining us. What we're going to do is do two things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who Smart School Councils is, who I am, and then also I'm going to give you 8 ideas for class meetings that we're going to that schools have been using so far this term. And because much of that our kind of standard format for a class meeting uses something called the class meeting tool, which is available to members. Then I'll explain kind of how that works as well, so that it kind of makes sense. But hopefully the questions will be useful to you either way. So welcome. Thank you for joining us on what I'm sure will have been quite a hectic month for all of you. So just to introduce us, we are a teacher-led charity founded in 2016 by a youth worker and my friend Asha and myself. So I used to be a policy advisor at DFE. With our kind of mission really is just really clear to help every child lead change through pupil voice and democracy, with a real emphasis on every child. And we're a bit critical of how most school councils are, how the normal school council is set up, which I'll tell you about in a second. So yeah, we've got a whole school program of pupil voice. That's kind of what we support our schools with. 360 member schools across the UK, and we work with a big bunch of different types of schools, from primary, secondaries, PRUs, special schools and international schools. But most of our schools are primary, and we love working with primary schools. We love getting year 1s and 2s fired up about having a say and leading their own meetings, because it's amazing. Could you pop in the chat? Where are you guys based? Are you primary, secondary, PRU, SEN? Where are you working at the moment? And that will help me to kind of tell you a bit more about it from your perspective. So if you could let me know if you're primary, secondary. Primary, Rosie, hi, nice to see you. So primary, Rosie's a primary, Pauline's a primary school in East London, and great. Okay, so a couple of primaries, and Victoria is primary to year 2. Okay, excellent. Great challenge. We've got lots of. I did say I like working with primaries, I guess, so that's a good thing. And so we work with all these organisations at the bottom as well. So thanks for letting me know. So basically, what we try and do is we think it's great when young people have a lead change and use their voice through school councils and democracy. We think it's got loads of benefits for them in terms of their confidence and empowerment and what their life chances will be in the future. And also it's great for the school to have and evolve young people's voices. But we think that the way that most schools do this could be improved. And it's for these reasons, basically. So with a typical school council, the same things will come up every year. Quite often it's the uniforms, it's the school lunches. Very often they've run out of steam by Christmas. You have an election, you maybe work on one thing. and then it's kind of over. They're often very paper based, so minutes posted up on a notice board somewhere. It's 2020. How often are you going to read? How often are you going to read kind of paper minutes, especially if you're 6 or 16? They're quite teacher led usually. It's usually the usual suspects who get involved each time, and I'll talk more about that in a second. And obviously, this year we've got this huge new obstacle because you can't have different classes, year groups, depending on how your school works, mixing. So yeah, how do you do that? So lots to overcome, and I think what we want to do is to think about how we can improve that system. So, and just a few pieces of research which I think are useful. So only 2 in 5 pupils think that their school council listens to them. So school councils are in 95% of schools, and if what they do is put off lots of people and don't feel listened to, I don't think that's great. But more worrying for me is the fact that if you're a pupil with pupils with more than 200 books at home, 62% get involved in school council elections. But if you've got less than 10 books at home, then only 30% vote. So I think that's wrong, basically. I don't think that's a great system. If what we're doing from a really young age is saying, is putting off people or pupils who are less advantaged, then I think we need to look at how we run things. So that's what we did, really. We've set up the Smart School Council programme, which involves every single pupil in the school, and it uses digital tools to make that easy. So involving everybody sounds great, but obviously you need, your staff and your colleagues and your class teachers need to get on board with that, and for it to be super easy for them. So what we do is we organise these things called class meetings, which are pupil-led meetings in every class. And yeah, so that's the kind of top bit here. The comms team is like a leadership group who most schools turn their existing school council into this. And instead of being the group who decides and does everything, they're the group who picks the questions which go out in class meetings. And action teams are people who take things forward, which are pretty difficult at the moment. They're kind of groups that will set up projects to take things forward from class meetings. But I'll explain a bit more about that in a second. And the reason why we wanted to do this CPD is because the class meetings element of the Smart School Council model essentially has short pupil-led meetings supported by this thing called the class meeting tool. And let me just sort of show you one of these, and I'll put it in the chat as well if you'd like to have a look. And so this is an example of a class meeting and tool which supports the class meetings across the school. So if you wanted to give that a go, you can. Basically, each class, you and your leadership group would decide on a question, and you send it out to every class. They literally, just like this, click on a link in an email, and it will open on their projector, and you hand over to 2 pupils to lead the meeting. The pupils say, you have one pupil who's the leader, one who's the note taker sitting at your desk. You shouldn't be involved, or at least you should be kind of standing back a little bit. And so the leader will say, welcome to today's class meeting, and let's pick our class, type in the name, and let me just show you this. Puts you into groups, just where they're sitting, so it's not a faff. And so this is the question that this school has decided this week: should all the pupils in the UK wear masks to school? And so basically, it's going to be a short time debate, so it doesn't take all day in your class, and you put your results in, and you would see the results coming in from across the school. But yeah, give that a go, because that's kind of how we try and make it easy for schools to involve everyone. And if anyone's got any questions as we go, just stick them in the chat and I'll come to them. Very happy to if you're like, I don't understand this, or what happens to the school council, or is there software to download, or yeah, stick them in the chat if you're not sure. But basically, usually in a normal academic year, these the questions that, so the school picks the question, essentially. The school picks the question, usually the communication team, but sometimes the lead teacher. And usually they're used for a big range of different types of questions. But this obviously the start of this term, there's a kind of unique opportunity, I think, to be picking questions and involving every pupil in a discussion that that uses these digital tools, which doesn't mix any social bubbles, basically. And that's obviously the young people's safety is really important. So I think that's why we wanted to set up this short CPD, is basically to kind of say, well, how can we give young people a role and a voice within the kind of social distancing measures to help them have a say in what school looks like? And that's what we want to talk about today is some examples of how schools are doing that at the moment. So, and just before we do that, I just wanted to mention this really important research, which essentially says it's really important to do that because it's from the Australian Institute for Disaster Resilience, and they did loads of research into after natural disasters in Australia, like the bushfires and stuff, that they were worried about children's well-being, and they found the following. So basically, they said that participatory approaches that engage infants, children and young people in community preparedness, response and recovery processes in a supported way promote a sense of self-efficacy and competence that can help offset the disabling effects of exposure to disasters. So I think that's a kind of fancy way of saying really that helping young people in a safe and structured way to have a voice and to constructively and safely discuss what's going on around them is a good thing. And so the reason I mention is that is because I think, you know, here's some examples of how our kind of member schools are doing that. So you've had a go at the class meeting. You've had a go at that link, and just to give you a sense of kind of what the rest of it looks like. So the pupils in every class would work through in their groups and decide on one, and you would put the different votes in, and you submit them to the comms team. This is a key, and you'd also have this kind of new actions if you've got any new ideas section of the class meeting that you know pupils can decide, oh, I really want to work on this and this, or I've got a suggestion about something else. But let's just show you that, and then that kind of finishes. And the idea really with these class meetings is they take 5-10 minutes max, keep it really super short, and can fit into the school day. And so here's some examples of class meetings that we've seen from real member schools so far this academic year, a few weeks in. And if you're not a member and you don't intend on joining, absolutely fine. I still think these are useful questions that maybe you could ask your class, or ask it however you want to. But I think that that they're useful questions to be discussed regardless of how you do that. And if you want a copy of this presentation, then just stick yes into the comments box, and we'll get that sent out to you after this. So question one, it's the sort of fun approach. So not necessarily kind of influencing any kind of rules or what school looks like, but it's saying that if you could have anyone in your socially distant bubble, who would it be and why? So got various different options. In a class meeting in the tool, you can have up to 5 options, and so here's a few different ones that you could pick based on your the interests of your pupils. So Moana, Chris Whitty, Dumbledore, Harry Kane, Princess Leia. We've had a few schools including people like Steve from Minecraft as well. Essentially, it's a bit of a sort of silly, fun question, but actually it makes you kind of reflect on what's going on at the moment, and think about the kind of skills that some person you might like in your bubble. I would definitely pick Moana because I'm a massive Moana fan, and if you would like to let me know who you would pick, and actually I didn't say why, I think Moana would just be loads of fun. Think she's resourceful, she's fun, she's great. Yeah, I think she'd be who I picked to be in my bubble. If you would like to let me know, or if you've got someone else that you'd like in your bubble. We did have a class meeting where somebody said their chemistry teacher They really, they really liked their chemistry teacher, and they wished that she could be in a bubble. Amazing, so good. Okay, so that's a bit of a sort of fun one. And here's a second question I want to mention is from a special school in Hackney called Stormon House, a brilliant school that we visited a few times. And their question is kind of COVID related. It's not necessarily directly about COVID, but related to the things around it that I guess have changed in the world as a result of it. So which behavior is most important when you are communicating on digital devices? So great question. Obviously, we're doing a lot more of that since kind of March time. So a good question to think about what's important when you're on your phone or computer, especially if there's another kind of lockdown and everybody goes home again. Having fun, safety, learning, respect, questioning. So yeah, some interesting options there. I really like that question. So yeah, well done, Stormon House. Great question. Question 3. So this is an example from Southend High School for Girls, so secondary, and it's kind of, we've got a few well-being style questions which we've seen coming up over the last few weeks. I love this question. What most concerns you about there being high expectations of you? So, and the answer options that they've picked with the students who lead the Smart School Council there: disappointing self, disappointing family, disappointing teacher, school, or other. So yeah, fascinating well-being style question, which I thought was really great. And you know, the comments that will come out of a question like that, and because of the discussions, remember the class meeting tool doesn't organise just a vote, it's about a discussion, because that way you learn more skills about kind of negotiation and speaking and listening. So yeah, I think that the discussions that will come out of this will be fantastic. So yeah, well done to Southend High School for Girls. And actually their questions have been so good this year so far that I've included a second one, which I really loved as well. So obviously, yeah, secondary. So several forms said that they wanted to feel less pressure. Which part of school makes you feel pressure? And so the answer options that they'd picked for this one were classwork tasks, homework tasks, work deadlines, high expectations, tests and assessment. And this actually preceded the question that they had before. So I'm guessing that the pupils at Southend High School for Girls picked high expectations in big numbers, and then they've used that to follow up with a second question, which is this one. Yeah, so what most concerns you about there being high expectations of you? So we see this sometimes with class meeting questions. We have sort of series of questions to kind of explore one area in a great depth. And we really love that. I think that's really good. So well done once again, Southend High School for Girls. Brilliant. Question 5. So this is a primary wellbeing example. This is actually one of our suggested questions. We send out suggested questions every week to our schools. So what is the best thing about being back in school after lockdown? Learning new things, seeing friends, being taught by a teacher, being part of my new class. Great. And I just want to show you, so Harrogate Primary Academy are amazing at sending us pictures of their class meeting. So here's their class meeting from today, which is this question that I just mentioned. And great, well done. And you can see that Mia and James for leading and led the meeting and took notes today. So well done, Mia and James. But yeah, it's a great question for the considering kind of the good aspects of what's good about being back, basically. So well done to them. So we love that question. And here's an interesting one from the Hart School. So Mr. Brindley at the Hart School, great teacher, one of our favourite members. And this is more of a sort of community style one. So after viewing info and pictures for the new Rugeley, have I pronounced that right, Rugeley? I think so. Rugeley Youth Centre, would you be interested in joining as a member? So this one is I guess highlighting this opportunity for young people to link up with the local community, become part of this youth centre. There's quite simple answer options here: yes, no, unsure, and then based on the votes that come back, they can follow up and support those young people to get involved. And that could be it doesn't need to be something in a community. It could be anything related to the community or in school too. So love that question. Great question. Well done. And okay, so this is a really kind of direct kind of rules question on what school should look like, or what one rule in particular should look like. So playground, and this is from Blackheath Prep, South London, fantastic school. Playground activities need to be redesigned due to the current situation. What do you think should happen? And some really interesting answer options here. So class equipment sets, new year group equipment sets, no equipment, pupils organise own activities, or other ideas. So, and I guess what I loved about this one is because it's a very direct question, which clearly the school want to get young people's input on, and young people will feel, everybody in the school will be discussing this. So and everyone may not get what they want, but at least they'll feel like they've discussed it. And I think it's one of those really good concrete practical examples of saying, well, we value all of your voices, and here's a really practical, tangible way that we want to involve them. And then when the playground activities change as a result, then the young people can say, well, yeah, actually we discussed that, and yeah, I got my way, or I maybe didn't get my way, but my voice was important on this. So I really like this this question, and yeah, we've been suggesting this question to other schools as well because it's so good. Okay, I think maybe this is the last one, or maybe one more. So again, a bit more of a kind of well-being question from Haverley Hay Primary School. I can't remember where Haverley Hay Primary School is, so forgive me, sorry. I can't remember what all of our members are. But a nice broad well-being question. So how happy are you with the changes made in school this year? We've had lots of questions which have been similar to that across the few weeks of term so far. And it's meant to be a prompt, I think, for an exploration, or beginning to think about, well, actually, yeah, I'm really, pupils saying, I'm really happy about this, or pupils saying, actually, I'm not happy about this other thing. And quite often what comes back with these questions, or the discussions that result after them, is lots of surprise comments that you think, oh, well, actually, I kind of thought everyone was a bit kind of unhappy, but everyone seems okay, or vice versa. And I think it's giving some structure to starting that conversation. So those are 8 examples from I think 7 fantastic member schools. And so I guess I wanted to ask, does anyone have any questions about this idea of involving young people in these types of things? Or does anyone have any practical questions about, well, I don't really understand what class meetings are, or how it works for a class teacher? Did you so I would love any questions that you had. I'm very happy to answer them, and I'm gonna just wait for that question chat box awkwardly. Or not that awkwardly, or if it's been useful and you think it's been useful, then it would be great to know that too. Yeah, I will wait quietly for 10 seconds. Okay, thank you, Pauline. you've saved me there from a very awkward gap in this session. So thank you. So Pauline said, I really like the way, especially with COVID-19, to get all the pupils involved, and the fact that take 10 minutes will keep our Year 6 teachers happy. Yeah, that's great. That's always been one of our really important things, I think, because I think most teachers would agree with the idea that it's important to get all the young people involved if we can, but I think most teachers would only make that happen if it's super easy for them. So yeah, I'm glad that would suit your teachers. So yeah, thanks, Pauline. And Victoria said, not a question, but good to see some different ideas. Sometimes I get caught up with trying to get different ideas for the school council, but good to know we can just canvass to find out how everyone is feeling, especially at the moment. Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it? And sometimes when you canvass to see how everyone's feeling, that's when you would get some new ideas for changes, or ideas that you can implement over the rest of the term. And also quite a lot of our schools at the moment are doing questions like, how safe do you feel in school? And they've started with that now, and then at the end of the half term or the term, they're going to ask the same question to see what they've implemented over that period, if that's made a difference. So I guess it feels that this shouldn't be used as a survey. I think it's about involving young people, but I think if that starts to change, help schools to change and improve things and make people feel safer, and I think that's really good. And Pauline, thank you. Again, you've made a nice comment there. So using one question per week means you can build up from the answers given. Yeah, so that's it. Some schools do like series of questions, so you might do like a wellbeing half term, and others also do class meeting questions more infrequently or less frequently. So yeah, so some secondaries actually do one per half term. They have like a big sort of ceremonial question, and we think that's fine, actually. I think that sometimes works really well. And actually our target for new schools on the programme is 6 class meetings per year, so 1 per half term. But we're seeing from the new schools who've joined this year so far, we're seeing schools going way beyond that already. So some schools doing kind of 1 a week. So they've got up to 4 class meetings at the moment. But we like, with our new schools, to keep it manageable, and a kind of nice mix of questions. So, some ones which are really specific. So ones like this one, which is like what do you think about this and how can we improve it, in terms of like one rule in the school. But then, maybe to follow up the next week with one that's a bit more like this, which won't necessarily have loads of actions, because you can't really get Moana or Harry Kane in your social distancing bubble. So, but I think that's okay. I think that blend of questions is quite good. And again, coming back to your point, Pauline, it keeps the teachers on board, because they're like, oh, actually, this is quite fun, and I don't need to do anything. And especially at Year 6 level, they really shouldn't be. It should be pupils who are running this. There might be a bit of a kind of gentle guiding if to say, for example, oh, could you explain your answer? But ideally, you should just be modelling that and supporting the pupils to do that themselves. So I'm glad. Thank you for the comments. That's made me feel a lot better. These things are always so weird when you're delivering to your own face for half an hour. So if you've got any questions, any further questions, stick them in the box. I will follow up with each of you just to give you your the access to the slides. Actually, maybe I can just do that now. No, I'll drop you an email with the slides, so you can have a go at the class meetings, and you've got a copy of the questions there if you'd like to. And also, yeah, if you'd like to, if you've liked what you've seen in terms of the digital tools and the kind of program offer, then feel free to, I'll send you information about joining as well. It's a few £100 for a year, and you'll be able to keep Pupil Voice going this year, and not just keep it going, make it much better by involving everyone in your school. So yeah, I feel a bit weird trying to sell stuff when you're British, but yeah, confident that it will make Pupil Voice much better in your school, because it will involve everybody and it won't stop because of the current restrictions. So yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to answer my email that I send out. Yeah, just to say a big sort of thank you for tuning in. I hope that's been useful, and once again, thank you for your comments. I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon, and if you're still at school, hopefully you can get home in the not too distant future. Okay, thank you everybody. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.